you have the very basic rudimentary framework of what you want to project. The issue is how do we go about that? How do we go about the projection? I think we know what we want to say, but we don't know how to say it.
I think we know what we want to say. We know how to say it. The problem is we don't know how to get the message out there. Yeah. This is where I need to find somebody who's got experience as a campaign manager, who's got a lot of experience campaigning, because there's a lot of methodology here that's tried and proven that unfortunately I don't have the experience with. Normally what we would be doing at this point for a normal campaign is we'd be hiring a PR firm to handle a lot of this, which financially we can't do for obvious reasons right now. We're in sort of a catch-22, where in order to go out and get the money, we need to have a viable campaign. In order to have a viable campaign, we need more money than what we have right now. So there's a couple things we can do. Like I do want to start printing up signs and all of that. I'm not real crazy about the logo that we have right now. I think it's good for certain stuff, but I'd like to expand on that. You remember some of the early ideas that you offered for the logo were pretty good. I saved them. Something different that we can do. But yeah, the logo is functional, but I'm not. I think we could do better. We have that, and then we have, which is just a variation on that. But that's something we can do that's not too terribly expensive, and I can American Express that. I can American Express that. And so that's one thing we can do, but I mean that's relatively minor. Now, and I had another question, which kind of made me stop and think about things a little bit too. Someone asked me, who's our base?
Who is our base? That's a good question.
And that's that's a real good question. That's something I didn't have an answer for. But I can tell you, one of the things that the whole thing with the Florida Security Council and meeting with Jack Tyman and all of that, the afternoon that they had their presentation, Jack invited me to lunch. And there was about 24 people there at the lunch, including Dr. Jasser and Tom and Sam and all those people that were on the committee. And it was a nice lunch. I mean, everybody was real cool. I got to talk to people, but it was a very, very hardcore conservative group. And what I realized when I was sitting there and I was talking to all of them is it reinforced the idea that we can't count on them for any sort of support. I was hoping that we would get that there would be some conservatives out there that might swing our way, but we can't count on that.
Well, I'll raise the idea. I don't know that any of those people are very representative. Well, are representative of any more than the farthest right element.
Well, that's true, but the farthest right element encompasses a high percentage of the politically active individuals in this district. Mm-hmm. So,
well, be that as it may, I think that well, and I think that I mean. Does a campaign really need a base? I mean, I think one of the general tenets of the campaign so far is that we appeal across a broad spectrum, and I think that I mean, whereas it may work to our advantage in terms of a conventional campaign to have a base. I think that I think that the idea of appealing to more than just a definable group of people, I think
there's two elements to. I think there's two elements to a successful campaign in these terms. One, I agree with you. in terms of broad appeal and in terms of what we can bring to the voting booth on November. I agree with you there. But the other issue is the actual nuts and bolts logistical support of a campaign. And for that, we need a base. And that's what we're missing right now. So we have to, figure out who we can count on to do this. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm going to be a little bit more negative on these various groups than I actually am. But, looking at the potential for what we could call our base. First of all, we've got the progressives. Now, the problem with progressives, number one, is that they're a small group, especially in this district. And number two, saying that a political campaign has a progressive base is sort of like saying my house is guarded by a security cat. I mean, you're not going to get that level of dedication to the campaign, and you're not going to get that level of dedication to your specific issues. The problem that I've experienced working with progressives in the past is that everybody has got their pet cause, and getting them to focus on one thing is virtually impossible. And this might not be, this wouldn't be a problem, if I was somebody who was established in government and I had more established credentials, but given the fact that, we're coming at this from the level of activism and the level of involvement a lot of progressives are, we're not going to make a lot of headway with them. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think we can't count on them. It just means I don't think we can count on them for a solid base of campaign workers and all of that. Second group is the libertarian. Excuse me.
Don't worry. Libertarians make me choke up sometimes too.
Is the libertarians. Libertarians we have a very similar problem with. Libertarians, by their nature, don't like to organize. I mean, they're,
And I think the same can be said of progressives.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the other problem with the libertarian side is I think libertarians naturally tend to gravitate towards the Republicans. And the problem is we've got one real Republican in the race, and we've got one virtual Republican with Bert Saunders.
Well, the problem, I think, I mean, that's one of the reasons this is a good time to capitalize on the agenda of most libertarians is that Republicans have sort of lost their true economic conservatism. There have been books, there have been reams published about this, about the fact that Republicans are bigger spendthrifts than the Democrats, and I think that's. I think that's a line that we can continue to pound in our publicity over the next few months. Is that, hey, you know what? Fiscal responsibility and fiscal conservatism is not necessarily espoused by the GOP.
Well, see, the problem here with another problem with the libertarians, I think, is an ideological problem. I think 4 out of 5 of those points that. Of our central platform points, I think we can get agreement with on the libertarians. But the one that's nearest and dearest to their heart is taxes and taxation. And I mean, I have to be realistic on this. I've told people, I like the idea of the fair tax, but I'm not sure it can work. And if it can't work, and even in the interim between now and the time that we get it, realistically, we have to get rid of some of these tax breaks that are benefiting this small percentage of people, which everyone is going to perceive as an increase in taxes. But you look at what's happening in this area now. What's happening in the state of Florida is that everyone was, Amendment 1, let's get $240 more a year. Well, $240 for an individual is literally billions of dollars across the state that's been lost by schools, law enforcement, fire districts. Everybody has lost money off of this, and every county and every city in the state of Florida now is having to figure out what essential services they can afford to cut. And this is not a good situation. And the same thing is happening in the federal government. You know, now in the federal government, you also have a much higher level of fraud, waste, and abuse, which can go a long way. You know, you're talking a couple $1 trillion, you know, worth of fraud, waste, and abuse that could be taken care of. But even with that, you know, we have the realistic issue that we need to increase revenue. The infrastructure in this country is falling apart. Education is, you know, we have a decreasing education standard in this country. And the only way that this is going to happen, and this is the same problem that we have with the campaign here, is on principle, we got everything we need, but in actuality, in practice, we need the resources, we need the money, and we need the people.
You know, actually, in the past week, I've seen more local newspaper headlines about the schools. They're cutting back. They need money. The DCF, another kid died because nobody was watching. I think we have an opportunity here to say, well, you know what? There is a solution to this problem, and it's called actually adequately funding these essential services. Yeah. And especially with the DCF issue. I look at I look at some of the forums online, on the news press, and through Naples and a lot of the other local sources, and it's oh my God, like the incompetency is stunning, and
you weren't with us when we went to the League of Women Voters, because this is the exact issue that they were talking about.
Really? Okay.
And the woman who was the speaker, she's the director of the mental health court, which basically their function, what's her name, Candace Morin.
I read the entry you put up. Did you get video from that?
Yeah, we have. I have links to the videos here.
Oh, okay.
I didn't do a short video on those for YouTube, but her full talk is up there. And then Ray Judah got up there, and what's interesting is a sizable chunk of the city council and a couple people from the school board and like 3 people from the county commission were there. And when you hear those guys talk at events like this, they all sound like Democrats, because they're all saying, we need more money, we need better funding. Ray Judah was actually up there saying that we need to tax the internet. What he was saying was that, his argument was that, it creates unfair competition. Because, if you go to a brick and mortar store, you have to pay sales tax, but you don't have to pay sales tax online, which I'm not sure if I agree with him on that or not.
You do have to pay sales tax online if you go through a lot of vendors.
Most vendors you don't.
It depends on certain states, I think, charge. Sure. But most states, I think there's like 1 or 2 states.
Not a whole lot.
Yeah, you generally don't pay sales tax.
Here's the thing. Yeah, you go ahead and straight out of Lee County actually implement a working system for that, because
I don't think that you're. I mean.
Well, that's an issue. I don't think taxing the internet. Politically, I don't think it's feasible, and practically, I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I mean, this is a Republican. This is our, the chairman of the county commission up there saying this. So,
I'll tell you why by the way, I'll tell you why you're able to say that, even though it might not be practical and might not be, it might not be feasible. A great number of older folks, especially older Republicans, don't use the internet.
Right.
And they think the internet is full of these young, whippersnappers. They're out there skirting taxes, and they think, hey, tax the internet. This sounds like a great idea. So, I think that's why guys like Judah are able to say that, I mean, they're able to raise the issue.
There's a big difference between the differences between Republicans and Democrats on a local county level and on a national level. Because everybody who works on the state, local, particularly on the local and the county level, they recognize, they work every day, they work with the DCF, they work with everybody, and they realize that you have to have money to keep these services going. When they tend to get up, particularly on the Republican side, when they tend to get up to the state and national level, they sort of conveniently forget that and talk about cutting taxes. And the problem is and again, I'm being a little more negative here than I actually am on this point of view. But the problem is, it's very difficult to run against anybody who effectively tells people, "I'm going to give you free money," which is what the tax cut, with the tax cut. And Connie Mack is a perfect example of this. His entire mantra is, he goes. His entire political lexicon, based on what I read online, he goes from "I'm going to cut your taxes" to "stack, tax, and spend Democrats." I mean, that is like the foundation of his political philosophy, it seems. So, and that's really hard to do, to run against. Now, like I said, what we have to recognize here that we have is we've got a problem between what we need logistically to run this campaign and what our overall message is. Overall message, I think we're good. We need fine-tuning, but I think we're good. But what we need to work on now is actually getting this campaign to run. And this is the problem that, so far, what I've found is that the people who are politically active in this area are mostly wealthy conservatives. And the small group that's not wealthy conservatives that I've encountered so far are Democrats. And we've got a Democrat in this race. So we've really got to rack our brains to figure out how we can get around this. Small donations is one possibility. I think we could raise a lot of money with small donations, but we have to we need an effective campaign to go out and get people to offer a small donation.
Well, can we find some of the people, say in Naples, that are maybe like new money? I mean, they tend to have a different viewpoint than old conservative money.
We can. What we need to do is we need to network more effectively.
That's it. I mean, like I was saying, it goes back to the same thing. We have such a scatter problem. So what we either need to do is appeal to the group who are already politically active or mobilize the people who aren't. Either one is kind of a tough thing to do. But, I mean, there is no central point here for much of anything, except for country clubs.
Yeah. And, the other problem that we're having is the way that the Democratic nomination is dragging on, because depending on who gets the nomination, I am back to being fairly convinced. I think Hillary Clinton's going to get it. I think her scare machine has turned this debate around. So,
by the way, have you seen that McCain is the big video on Google Video is John McCain ready on day one? Yeah, so he's co-opted that message.
Yeah, so and once Hillary Clinton is confirmed as the nominee, I think that sinks Larry Burns, because and we've discussed this a million times, but any Democrat who's running on a ticket with Hillary Clinton in this district is going to die a fiery death at the polls. So
it makes me more concerned about the national election.
Yeah, but the problem is the convention's not, 4 or 5 months away?
Yeah, we're talking July, I think.
So I was hoping that would coalesce a little earlier than it is. And the problem is even if Larry Burns, he's still going to pick up. I mean, you've got a certain percentage of people that are just Democrats and they're just going to vote D no matter what. So he's still going to pick up that percentage. But if Hillary Clinton wins the nomination, he's got no shot in hell of winning.
Well, when was the last time we got a Democrat elected for this district anyway?
Yeah. Well,
it's R plus 10, right? You have a better shot as an independent.
Yeah. But, the problem is he's effectively a spoiler for us. Well, because he's got no chance of winning.
I'm more concerned about Bert Saunders than...
That's the other issue, too. We'll see. I don't know what Bert's up to. I don't know if he's actually still going to run or not, because he has not put out any sort of statements since his initial announcement. As of last year, he hadn't raised any money. We'll see what he reports for this quarter. He might have been holding back so that he would get funding for this fiscal year, not last year. But we'll see. There's a chance he might not actually run. That's my general impression. Because he seems to, and if he is
If it gets down to the three of us with Connie Mack and Larry Burns, then I think we've got a good shot.
I think so too.
Well, I'm not so concerned about what Larry Burns or Bert Saunders or even Connie Mack is doing. I think that the opportunity is there for a campaign that truly not only represents, but is real change, that is a real outside shot. And I think that's one of the things, one of the messages that we got to pound is, hey, come on, we're the real outsiders here. You want people from outside the political system? Look, you've got two choices here: a Republican, a Democrat, or a Republican masquerading as an independent who's a Tallahassee ward healer. If you want real change, vote for Jeff George. And this is a message that it's tried and true, and it's and it's one I think we have to be more effective in communicating. The whole Washington outsider thing. There are two sides to that debate, and obviously Obama's getting pounded on one of them right now, but the other side is just as effective.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Well, we don't have the marketing machine that Bert Saunders does, and he can pull the outsider.
Yeah.
He's running independent. So.
That's the problem.
But
I don't know if you guys...
He could step outside of his former allegiances, so to speak. And
it's
yeah, but people are that easily manipulated, and if we don't have the marketing machine behind it...
It's disappointing, but yeah.
Well, no, but I think,
even if we discount the idea of how easily people are manipulated or how gullible people are, well, we're still left with the fundamental issue that we're trying to reach nearly 600,000 people
that are
scattered all over the place, and that the people that have the most money are going to most effectively get their message out because they can afford to advertise. They can afford to get out and get to the media. So discounting any question of how gullible or how easily manipulated people are, the fact of the matter is that whoever gets the message out there and reaches the most people with it is going to have the best chance of winning.
Right.
So I was, I forget what I was looking for here now. Oh yeah. I don't have a link to it here, but if you go to Open Secrets and take a look at the candidates, you'll see what everybody has raised in terms of funding so far. And as of December 31st, Connie Mack had nearly $700,000 already. So obviously he's aside from being the incumbent, he's also the fundraising. And Larry Burns had, I think, $52,000, $20,000 of that was his own money. So, and he had spent a fraction of that, so I don't know if he's actually gotten into spending his own money yet or not. But I would love to try and dissuade him from running, but if he's willing to pony up $20,000 of his own money, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, this again, we come back to, and I don't mean to be negative here, but the big issue is I think you're right. I think we got the right message. It's just getting it out there. So, one thing I know we can do small scale. Again, this kind of goes back to the idea of product, is I want to focus a little more on the economic situation here locally. Two things I want to do. In terms of the videos that I've been putting out, is I want to shift a little bit from covering over the groups to start doing videos about what is specifically about my past, my life, a few of those, and then more importantly what our position is, and going out and showing the real economic impact that everything is having in this area, and offering real proposals to change it. And one of the things that's a little bit frustrating is I find myself, on a lot of issues, I find myself agreeing with the Democratic frontrunners, on what needs to be done in terms of domestic spending and everything. And that's frustrating, number one, because I hate to sound like a Democrat. And number two, we have a Democrat running already. So,
well, God only knows what he thinks about these issues, and God only knows how he expects to deliver.
And the other 32,000 apparently knows what he thinks.
Well, it's I think we need to not only focus on what the problems are, but what the solutions are,
exactly.
and what specifically what policies we're going to implement and how we're going to implement how in the context of the Congress, of 435 other members of Congress, you're going to make these changes happen for Southwest Florida.
Yeah. Well, I got another question that was asked to me today, or not today, when we were at the League of Women's Voters. There's a guy asked me if I would caucus, if I was elected, if I would caucus with the Republicans or the Democrats. And my answer on that is we'll see. Because it depends on how the elections go, it depends on who we get as a president, it depends on what the makeup of the Congress is, who has a majority, how slim that, or how broad that majority is. We'll see. And I hold out on that because if enough people out there in this district like what I have to offer in terms of policy, but would feel more comfortable if I was caucusing with the Republicans, I'd be willing to do that. And on the flip side, if caucusing with Democrats means that we'll more effectively get things done, then I'm willing to do that as well.
So actually being a representative of your district.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It being,
what a concept.
Yeah. So, I mean, in theory, I don't have a problem with the idea of caucusing with either party, as long as I can vote the way that I say I'm going to vote on specific issues. And that's an advantage that an independent has. Is I mean, if you're a Republican or a Democrat, the party can bully you by threatening to withhold funds and all of that. But as an independent, even if you're caucusing with that party, there's only so much that they can hold over your head in terms of influencing your vote. So.
I mean, they can call you names, but
yeah, yeah. So. So we can do that. I mean, we can change the tones of the videos we're putting out. Not really change the tone, but sort of shift focus a little bit. But again, logistics.
We need to get more people to see the videos.
Yeah. So far, this video. Maybe I should go to YouTube page. That one's getting a fairly good number of votes or views. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, because the tags have to do with the RAC and the Army. And number two, I posted as a response to the advertisement for that movie Stop Loss. It's a movie that's coming up basically about exactly what's going on in Muhammad. A guy gets out of the Army, wants to get married to his girlfriend, and gets called back.
Yeah, I watched the video.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I think that's a good idea to start posting the videos as responses.
But I mean, you're going to get a lot of national viewers, but what here?
Well,
the likelihood that we'd get, one Fort Myers Naples viewer out of all the people who might have seen.
Well,
that on YouTube,
even the national attention's not bad because
worth a little bit of effort.
And again, don't forget. I mean, in terms of fundraising, it doesn't have to be money from this district. It can be money from anywhere in the country. So
they print money money elsewhere too.
Yeah. So it's a two-pronged thing, and I mean ultimately, as this so much of this campaign is I just want to see how many viewers this had. 93, which is not great, but I mean for 3 days, it's not bad compared to some of our other videos. But yeah, compared to. What we have to do is we have to look at the learning curve that we're in here and realizing how important this money is. Now, if we can get the 10,000 in the next 2 months, which is our main priority, that keeps us in the election no matter what. If we don't get 10,000 in the next 2 months, this is over. As of May 2nd, we're done.
So we have to get the 20 orphans, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have to get that 10,000 in the next 2 months. That's a non-negotiable, and maybe we could make do with a little less. I was hoping I was going to be able to work more, but it looks like that's not going to happen. I might get a few more days here and there. I was hoping I could pitch in at least another 1,000, 2,000 of my own money, but I'm probably not going to have that. So I think for fundraising, I think we've, like I said, we've got one good source with the Muslim community. I think that'll get us fairly close to what we need for the 6,000. Once I can actually start asking them, when I actually feel comfortable asking them for large sums of money, which is coming up. You know, the main reason, one of the things I want to do is I really wanted to use this campaign as an opportunity to pull this community closer together, the Muslim community here in the area. And that's happening indirectly as a result of this campaign. And I have to thank Jack Timon and Tom Trento and all those people because they're doing my job for me. So I think after, particularly after the debate, and in the lead up after the debate, we should be able to get some money there, and that should cover at least our balloting requirements.